Welcome back to the Broker Life Podcast. My name is Mark Panazon, and I'm a mortgage broker with Mortgage Connection. I'm licensed in Alberta and BC and have been doing mortgages for over 15 years. Today's guest is Stephanie MacMillan, Broker Business Development Manager at Servus Credit Union. Welcome to the show, Stephanie.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
No problem. Glad to see you here. So why don't we start with just a little bit of background? Why don't you just share kind of how your journey has led to you being at Servus? You've been at Servus Credit Union for a while. So why don't you just kind of tell us your story?
Yeah, so initially I had not intended in being in banking at all. I was actually going to college to be a respiratory therapist.
Wow.
I thought it'd be nice to have a part-time job to sort of pay my way through that. So I became a teller at, back then it was called Community Savings Credit Union. So just got a part-time job doing that and fell in love with banking. I have been in mortgages for, the 16 out of the 17 years I've been here, from everything from preparing the instruction packages, to funding department, to payout department. I then became an administrator for our mortgage underwriting team. And from there, I was a team lead of a brand new mortgage department that was supporting our internal sales staff. Just enjoyed mortgages so much and kept sticking with it. So I thought I'd try my hand at becoming a mortgage specialist myself for several years, and really got to experience that sort of customer facing side of things. So I really do empathize with brokers now, and then worked my way now into the BDM position, which has been just such a fun fit for me. So yeah, I went from thinking I was going to go into the health industry to, a 17-year career so far in counting in mortgages, which has been really awesome. And Servus has really provided me a good environment with good mentorships and stuff, which is why I've just been here for so long.
Oh, that's a great story. So you basically know it all. You have seen all aspects of the transaction, the front end, the back end, everything in between. So you're basically a pro.
Yeah, sure. We'll call it that. Some of the processes I'm having to pull back in my head from years and years ago, but it's been good to draw on that experience, and especially when I was a mortgage specialist myself, like really understanding that, the communication that happens in things. And so it's been really great. I really do feel well-rounded, and I've had such a good mentorship again within Servus, who's really supported me and showed me that it's good to have such a full, well-rounded career. And it's definitely helped me. I've only been the BDM for I'm still shy of a year, so still lots of growing and learning opportunities and stuff, but it's been really awesome so far.
Well,
Feels like home here.
you've been great so far, so I think you'll be just fine. So you kind of stumbled upon this path. You were going to be in the health industry, and you sort of decided to take a job in Servus, which ironically is kind of similar to my path as well. I was going way back now. I was 20, I don't know, 27 years old or something. And we were planning this big trip backpacking into Asia, really kind of before we really sort of settled down to a career. So we went on this like 2-month trip to Thailand, and it was awesome. And then I got back and I was like, I just need a job. And so I was like, well, I'm always interested in like money, how money works, but I didn't know anything about money. So it's like, I'm just going to take a bank job. And so I ended up working 2 years at CIBC and like a personal banker, basically. And then was a mortgage specialist for 8 years at CIBC. And then I transitioned to being a broker. So this is like my 5th year as a broker, but had no intentions of like sticking in the finance.
Yeah.
And I was actually wanting to go the investment route. I didn't want to go the lending route. So funny how that it kind of works. So
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
to loop around, so you were gonna get into this position. Why Servus Credit Union, or why not like a major bank? What led you to sort of the credit union? Was it just the opportunity at the time, or like why Servus specifically?
I actually have been a member of the credit union since I was born. My grandpa had set up an account with me at a credit union, so I was just very familiar with coming in and doing the banking with them at the downtown branch and everything. So I just thought, you know what, I was initially working in an optometry clinic, actually, as an optometric assistant. And I thought, you know what, let's just try something new, and just thought I'd apply at our local credit union. So, and then the rest became history. So yeah, I've always been a credit union family.
And you're, as you mentioned, sort of before the recording, you have been in Red Deer your whole life.
Yes, I have.
And
Yeah.
Service is obviously in Red Deer in Alberta. Is Service outside of Alberta?
No, right now we're just located within Alberta. So it's really great. I can just travel around to Edmonton, Calgary, wherever I'm needed. So it's nice to be central in Red Deer right now. And I still have a nice broad reach across our territory. So services, we're hoping to start expanding. We have a branch in Lloyd, so that sort of straddles the border. So we service Saskatchewan as well. So it'd be nice to start expanding. But it's also really great to be Alberta based. And that's another reason why I had picked the credit union over maybe a larger branch, because we can stay just very focused on our communities, especially in our mortgage area. Like we really understand the lending sort of quirks in Alberta and the different job types and things like that. So it just feels so comfortable being here.
So just to confirm, you can or cannot lend in Saskatchewan?
We can, yes. Yep.
So Alberta and Saskatchewan's kind of the territory.
Yeah. If our Alberta residents live, or sorry, if they live and work in Alberta, we can actually lend for a second home in every province across Canada. So that's
Oh,
kind of cool too. So if you want to buy, if you live in Alberta and want to buy a second home in BC, you can do that. Saskatchewan, they can actually just live in Saskatchewan, but we are hoping to start alleviating some of those rules and regulations that's part of the Credit Union Act, that our members can now live in other provinces too and still have the Service Credit Union as their financial institution.
oh, there's one thing I learned already. I did not
Yeah,
know.
it's new for me too.
Yeah,
Sounds
I thought you could
weird to
only
say.
lend in Alberta. So that's
Yeah.
great. So not to get too off script here, but when it comes to porting a mortgage, because that's the first thing that comes to my mind. And if you're living in Alberta and you have a Service Credit Union mortgage, and then you're moving to Ontario or BC, can you port that mortgage over? No, right?
Um,
'Cause the new
that's a very
resident.
good question. We don't really do we don't do any ports through our channel specifically. That's sort of a branch function. So they know a bit more of the rules on that. But that's again, this is more new to us. So I would really have to, sorry, Mark, I don't have an answer for you on that right
Oh, that's
now.
okay.
Picking it up and moving it out of province is would be something newer for us. So we'd
Yeah.
have to verify. Yeah.
Okay. Um, I want to just discuss some of the main differences between a credit union and a traditional bank. And this can be a good back and forth. You've been in the credit union your whole life. I was at CIBC for 10 years. So let's chat. What are the
Sure.
differences? What are some of the things that you've noticed from being in all your different roles and just, interacting with people in general? Not necessarily the pros and cons, but just some of the differences that you would notice with the credit union.
Yeah. So, I mean, the similarities are that we have a lot of the same products that are offering. I know some people that are new to a credit union world think that we maybe wouldn't have a credit card or, some other options and things. So first of all, we do carry all of the same products, or most of them anyway, that the larger banks would. Um, I'd say the major difference for a credit union is that we are member owned. So our membership base has a vote and a say on some of our bigger decisions. Like say if a merger was coming up or something like that, they would have the say in that. Um, we really, again, we're because we are Alberta based, we really do know the industry. Our underwriting team has local hours. We're right here. You're not waiting for someone in Ontario or to make that decision and stuff too. So
Just big.
um, yeah, and because we are community based, we support local charities and things like that. So um, that's been a good benefit. I know we touched on this earlier too, that Service offers profit sharing. So we are member owned. When you get a product with us and pay $1 towards common shares, you become one of our members and we share in our profits. Like last year, we paid out around $65 million of our profits out to our member base. So having a mortgage with us being one of the larger products you can have, it has a really good payout on that. Sorry, I'm stuttering over my words. So a $300,000 mortgage, which is around average, you get about $500 a year in profits just for having your mortgage with us, and that is annually, first week of December. So that's probably one of our major differences is that we share in part of our profits.
I love that. I love the profit sharing model. And I think that's usually one of the selling features that I pitch to our clients. If we're comparing and it's close and the rate's similar, it's like, well, here's one thing. Another thing that I want to talk about is the penalty structure. So we don't have to get deep into the calculations and exactly how it works, but in general, there is a difference between how a credit union calculates a penalty, which I think is similar to how monolines calculate versus a traditional big six bank. Talk about that.
Yeah, no, that's true for sure. Is that we do have a pretty good, I've heard, again, because I've only been with the credit union, but I do hear that our payout penalty structure has some flexibilities to it too. If you're buying another house within a certain time frame, your penalty can be reimbursed. We have blend and extend options as well, which some of the larger banks don't offer that any longer. So there are ways to avoid your penalties, and they do sometimes calculate. Well, they do often calculate lesser than some of the traditional banks would. Um,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say for members who are or clients who are wanting to pay down their mortgage faster, we do have a bit of a broader advantage to that. You can do an extra 20% on your weekly monthly payments, or you can also on top of that do a 20% lump sum from your original balance, not your declining one as well. So we have a lot of happy members with that they're actually being able to accelerate the payments down on their mortgage.
We have a lot of different graphics that compare penalties, and it just so our viewers understand, like, it's a pretty big difference.
Yeah.
So not only are you going to get a competitive rate, a lower penalty, really flexible prepayment penalties, and then I think really the icing on top is the profit sharing. You're actually get paid back just for having a mortgage. So, okay. Now, in terms of the customer standpoint, why would, just in your opinion, why would a customer rather work with a mortgage broker when sort of, submitting an application to Servus Credit Union versus walking into a branch? Can you talk maybe a little bit about the differences about that?
Yeah, for sure. I would think that it's mostly because the broker focuses on mortgages. Like that's their expertise, their area of expertise. In the branches wear a lot of hats, but the broker is really able to focus on what the best mortgage product is for them and can walk them through that because that's what they do. They know that inside and out. So they also have the flexibility to find the best fit for their clients, having a broader range of all the products and opportunities and stuff in that area. And I think brokers would have a bit more flexibility with their time as well. Their scheduling, you're not having the rigidness of banking hours to meet with their clients. They can meet offsite in a coffee shop and really just be flexible in that area. So I definitely see that as the main benefits of going through a broker.
Okay, let's talk about some of the niches that Servus has. So you mentioned earlier, sort of on the top, that a lot of the products are very similar. And let's be real here, like, there's not going to be a lender that comes into the space and has something wildly different than what everyone else is doing. Everybody has fixed rates, everybody has variable rates. So, lender to lender usually comes down to some of these finite details, like profit sharing or prepayment privileges or penalties. But are there any other product niches or any popular products or programs that Servus has that maybe sets you apart?
Yeah, within our HELOC option, our home equity line, we can actually finance up to 80%. So I've heard that's a bit different than others are normally capped at 75. So sometimes that extra 5% makes a difference. We do finance acreages, so larger properties, using full land value and outbuildings as well for value. So I've heard that that's a bit of a niche as well. We are very active in the mortgage draw business, and we do offer shorter term land loans as well. So if you're purchasing the land ahead of time and then starting construction within 6 months, we can definitely house that within our broker channel. We do also have a wide rural network of branches, so we have a larger reach in those areas too. So that's a little niche. I did mention earlier too that we have local underwriting as well. So we understand that sort of market and the employment industries within our province. We're also very active in the mobile home market as well. So any mobile home that's permanently affixed to owned land, we can facilitate through our broker channel as well. So those are probably our main ones. And as you've mentioned, we've got profit sharing and things like that too.
That is a ton right there to dig into. And I don't want to pick all of them, but a couple of them really sort of jump out in my mind as the broker recommending. And I kind of forget sometimes about some of these niches being so many lenders are available. But the sort of rural properties and how many acres you can go up to, it's a big one. I actually just did a deal with Servus here. We submitted a deal recently, it got approved, and they're taking possession in about a month. and it was for a rural property that was, I think, 18 acres. And a lot of, a lot of lenders only cap it at 5 acres, 10 acres. Some of them will go 15. But I think Service will go 40.
Yeah, we do full land value up to 40. Yep.
40, yeah, which is
Yeah.
huge. So just so people understand, if these lenders are only taking 5 acres of land, but you're buying a property that has 18 acres of land, you're going to be out. You're not going to have enough funds to purchase it, or you're going to have extra funds to go ahead and purchase it. So the fact that Service can go ahead and include up to 40 acres is a huge advantage for rural property.
Yeah.
So
And
big
the
package.
outbuildings too. We've got
And
some
the
with bigger shops and stuff too that we can include. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
It's
that's
been
a big
awesome.
one. And then new construction, one of my favorites. So there's really not that many options in the broker space for new construction. In fact, I think there's like 2.
Oh, wow. Okay.
For
That's really
draws,
niche. Yeah.
specifically, right?
Yeah.
Some lenders will do completions with like a 12-month possession. I'm thinking 2 or 3 extra on top of that. But in general, there's maybe like less than 5 options. So Service and one other lender are go-tos for construction mortgages, specifically draw mortgages. So that's big. And just so, again, people understand, so a draw mortgage is when the builder building the home wants to use the bank's money instead of the builder's money to finance the project. And that's a common thing, especially when costs are up and they're kind of pressuring the clients to get these types of mortgages. Not all banks can do it, so that's big. Within regards to the rates, can you just confirm if when a client signs up for a draw mortgage, what rate they're paying on the draw, and then what rate they're going to pay on the mortgage? Is it the same or is it a different rate?
Yeah. So the rate that's initially selected up front, they can choose a 5-year term up front and just right away lock into that with their approval. As soon as the first draw occurs, they would be making interest only payments based off of that rate throughout the build until they obtain possession, and then they would start making full payments and that rate would be locked in. We do have a second option for draw mortgages, and that's to select the open upfront. So it's just an open mortgage during the construction timeline, still just interest only during that. And then once they're within 120 days of possession, they can choose any term on our rate sheet at that time and then lock into that rate. So there's some more flexibility with that open one. But once we've had a first draw, that locks your rate in, and then there's no risk of it increasing or anything.
So on the former option, the first option, if you go with the rate, the 5-year fixed rate, for example, that will be the rate on the draws, and that will be your rate when you take possession 12 months down the road.
Yes, that's right.
That's crazy.
Okay.
That's really good, because when I was at CIBC, the draw rate was, I think, something like prime +2, prime +3, prime +4, which today that'd be like 10%. And then your rate actually would be locked in until 120 days before possession. So you won't even know the rate you're paying on the mortgage for 6 months, 9 months. So the fact that Service does that is a big deal. Okay, so those are the ones that I love. I love pointing to those ones. Any other anything else you want to mention in regards to some of those? We didn't really talk about rentals, but people can obviously buy rental properties with Servus Credit Union.
Yeah, they can. So yeah, we definitely support rentals up to 80% loan to value, which is good as well. I've heard other institutions just go up to 75%. We do have a rental worksheet. So if you're claiming your income on your taxes, we can use the rental cash sheet to use that and apply that towards your income. If it's a newer rental and it's not quite cleaned yet, we can use 50% of market rents towards that as well. So another product we do offer as well is purchase plus improvements and also refinance plus improvements. So if part of your plus improvements is to add a legal rental suite, we can also use 50% of market rents ahead of time in that qualification as well. So that's also another product that that we offer that I'm not sure that all other banks offer.
Yeah, we did a refinance plus improvements with Service a year or two ago for a Calgary property, and it was a big reno. It was like a $300,000 reno. So that's a nice product as well. Okay, and then last one, sort of on the products and stuff. Are you seeing any trends for similar types of rates coming in? Are you seeing more people picking fixed rates, variable rates, short terms, long terms? Do you see that kind of data, or what are you sort of seeing on the trend side of things?
Yeah, we do. We actually do track all of that data over the course of, as many years as I've been in this department. We have a database tracking all those, influxes and what the product focuses are on different date ranges. So of course, the standard product is a 5-year fixed, like across the board. And that really hasn't changed much. I really thought that with our rates, increasing, it makes our clients a little bit more hesitant. So they're just locking into a 3-year instead. So the 3-year term selection has increased a little bit, but not as much as I thought. We still have a lot of files coming in, just really locking in that 5-year upfront because rates still are slightly trending upwards. We just had another increase a couple weeks ago. And they're just wanting to lock in and not having to worry about requalifying, in 3 years. Again, they're just putting it off for the 5 years. So we've seen a little bit of a decline on the variable rate option just because prime has, been increasing a lot. It's fairly high right now. So our clients are tending to just shy away from that product right now. And we still do get the HELOC product coming in just because we have clients that like that flexibility of that movement within the HELOC limit. So I'm still very surprised to see that the 5-year option is definitely our most popular.
I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. Do you have any projections or ideas from the big hats at Service where rates may go in the next 6 months, year kind of thing?
Yeah, we really just we keep a close eye and follow the trends of the larger banks. We like to follow up with them and keep along. So we're trying to I'm hoping that they're plateauing a little bit. I'm definitely not an expert in this area, so sorry, Mark, but we're starting to see a bit of a plateau, flattening out here, and I hope we just sort of hold steady in this area. Might be a couple little increases and nudges, but overall, I'm hoping we're just getting some stability now.
Close to the top. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, really, how much further is the Bank of Canada going to push this thing before we get into a recession, right? I mean,
Truly, yeah.
10 rate hikes, I think, since the drops. So, what is the biggest challenge as a whole in the mortgage industry from your standpoint right now?
Well, speaking of rates, I mean, that's been the challenge with qualification. Not only are
Paying
the
it
rates
through.
a little higher than we're used to, but we're also adding that 2% on there for qualification. So that's definitely where we're finding the tighter debt servicing calculations. Of course, us and the other banks as well have options when have at least 20% down payment. There are some options if your debt servicing calculations are exceeding. We still like to see people within that, but that's definitely one of the bigger challenges right now. Another challenge is the home price is increasing, right? It's affecting the ability to save for a down payment. So there's always the option of gifted down payments. Not everyone has access to that. So then there's other programs to assist with that, like the first time home buyer incentive program. I know Edmonton and Calgary, they have some housing programs that people can rely on to assist with those, shortages of saving up for down payment because it's difficult.
Yeah, and Calgary in particular is having a real big problem with supply right now. I think their last report about it was something like a month and a half worth of supply, which is like very, very low. Edmonton's still
Very
3
low.
months. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's crazy. What is one tip that you would give home buyers looking to get in? Let's say they know the rates are high, they know prices are high on home, but they're like, I'm tired of renting, or maybe they came into some cash or inheritance or something and they want to buy a home. What's a tip that you'd give them getting into the market now?
We always, talk about creating a budget, right? For, it's great if they've got their down payment and saved and everything, they're ready to go. You still need to have that room to have a budget for any emergency expenses to come up, or, when you get that, you find your home and you get the inspection and there's a couple things that need to be fixed, right? Like there's, you need to reach a little bit deeper than that. So I know a lot of our clients come in saving like, here's my 5%, but it's actually a little bit more than you need. And
I guess the silver lining with people buying homes now is that rates are already high.
yeah,
Whereas,
really.
if you bought 2 years ago at 2% and you're going to renew at 5%, I mean, you're in for a bit of a shock. And I know that's in the media a lot, and hopefully rates will come down by the time that happens. But yeah, that's good. What about credit tips? What's the minimum beacon score that Service requires? And what are some basic tips that people can do to ensure they'll qualify on the credit side?
Yeah, for sure. So our minimum beacon at Service is 650. So it's not too bad. And there are always rooms for exceptions. That's not a hard number. I mean, if we can see other strengths in the file, there's always ways we can mitigate that as well. If you're high ratio, that's off of the insurer. So that might be a little tighter there, but conventionally, we're a bit flexible on that. So I mean, it's always a good idea to keep a low credit utilization, all your revolving credits really low. Very important to make your monthly payments on time. That will start getting your credit score up to, and just really limit the number of inquiries that are on your the hits to your bureau. So those are important pieces to think about.
Will Service consider a bankruptcy or consumer proposal or collections?
So with bankruptcies, we would need a minimum 3 years to go by since discharge to look at that. Consumer proposals were a bit more flexible as long as we can see that they've been taken care of and that they, outside of that, still have good repayment. Their scores are okay. We don't need a certain amount of time to go by for that. So don't be shy to send those in and we can have a look. Again, if there's decent net worth or good reasoning why that happened, it's easy for us to move forward from that.
And collections are no big deal as long as they're paid?
Yeah, as long as they're paid.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I remember one of the other banks we interviewed had 7 years for bankruptcies. So 3 years is a walk in the park.
Wow, 7, yeah. 3's pretty good then.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's wonderful. So that's the end of sort of the main talking points. So the last segment here is sort of the fun part, which is called the speed round. So I ask about 9 questions here, which are totally off topic. And hopefully this just gives our viewers sort of a look inside your brain a little bit on the kind of person you are and makes it a little bit more fun. So
okay, here we go.
without further ado, the first question, and this can mean anything, by the way. This is just random get to know you questions.
Okay.
House or condo?
House.
Okay. Fixed or variable?
Fixed.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee girl. Okay. And lift weights or run?
Run.
Are you a big runner?
My dog makes me be a big runner, yes.
You'd be surprised how many people respond neither.
Neither. Oh no. Oh, I didn't know that was an option. No.
It's not an option, but they made it an option. Morning or evening?
Morning.
BMW or Mercedes?
Mercedes.
Yeah. What's your favorite pastime or hobby?
Probably walking my dog, doing yoga, just things like that. Dabble in artwork a little bit. It's been a while. I should get back into that. Yeah.
That's fun. My wife and I used to do those painting classes.
Oh, cool.
Like you meet up at a bar or something, and then there's a bunch of canvases, and you try and paint something, and mine's usually really awful.
Yeah. Just your interpretation, right?
Yeah,
I've never done one of those classes. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, those are kind of fun. That was a long time ago. Music. What kind of music do you listen to these days?
Literally everything except for country. Sorry, guys. Yeah. Literally broad range across the board. Yeah. I'll listen from classical to anything.
Any particular artists or songs that you're into lately that were listened in the last week or anything?
Trying to think. I've been listening to a lot of focus music just to try to get my work done. But no, I'm a fairly big Pink fan. I get to go see her next week in New York, so I'm looking forward to that. So I'd probably say she's my favorite right now.
Yeah, I'll write that one down. Okay, cool. And last one, what is the last book you read? What's behind you there?
I do remember. I know. I don't think it's on my shelf yet. I think it was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I think that was the one I just finished reading. Yeah.
Fiction?
Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Are you more fiction versus nonfiction?
Do a bit of both, but probably nonfiction is what I would read more. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. It's like an epidemic of nonfiction right now, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Everyone's looking for self-help in some area.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you are a business development manager. So you are mainly servicing brokers, right?
Yes.
So in terms of where people can find you, people aren't really looking for you. They're looking for us or they're looking for service, right? So where can people find maybe service, unless you do have like an online presence or something you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, we do have so many branches scattered throughout, so it's definitely great to pop in and say hi to our staff there. With the shift in maybe not so many people walking in through the branches, I mean, we definitely have a website that has tons of information on it. And definitely, you know, our really strong broker relationships. They know we're here, and they know when your client comes and sits in front of you, like, oh yeah, that'd be a good fit for Service. So that's definitely where we get a lot of good connections and good long-term membership bases with us.
And
It's because of you guys. Yeah.
what's the web address? Just service.ca.
Yep, just service.ca. Yep. And there's actually a profit sharing little sliding calculator on there too. So you can see, you know, if you have your mortgage with Service and bring over some investments and maybe have a MasterCard, you can slide the little dial over and it calculates what your, you know, an estimation of what your profit share payout would look like. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, check it out, people. I've used that calculator plenty. It's a good selling feature, put it that way. Well, thank you so much for jumping on today, Stephanie. I really appreciate your time and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. Thanks for having me, Mark.